Hi guys, it's so lovely to be in this forum and thanks Kajal for inviting me. My name is Sunitha Mannatil. I'm the Commercial Solutions Manager for Asia Pac within Diageo. I also handle Thailand as a business partner. Apart from that, I'm also the founder of SoulQ, which is a wellness boutique wellness firm. And I also run a conscious women in leadership support group here in Singapore with over 150 members in it. So that's my introduction. I have a bit of a different opinion because all the panelists kind of spoke about corporate, which is mainly focused on the big companies, the MNCs, and the big companies of the world. But uh, what I think is needed is a very balanced ecosystem, not only from a gender aspect, but also I think from a economy aspect. Like I think Geeti picked on it a little bit. So when we say corporate, it's good for us to kind of expand our dimensions to also the unorganized sector where a lot of women actually contribute, be it manufacturing, be it in from small towns or rural areas. They are part of the economy, right? But do they get the right infrastructure to grow and things like that? No. And I think that's where I have seen a phenomenal women leadership with a company called Wild Ideas. And I wanted to share this with you guys. The founder of Wild Ideas is an ex board member of Microsoft. She used to work in US and she left her job because she couldn't find any meaning with it, but she wanted to create something for the women, right? So she came to, I think, in Tamil Nadu, a small village. She adopted the village and she created this company and she started giving jobs to all the rural women. And she showed leadership in so many different ways, by building schools, building infrastructure around the village, and giving jobs to, I think, more than 200 women whose husbands didn't have jobs or their agriculture was not kind of giving them the money and things like that. So I think the leadership of women can extend to so many different areas, right? It's just not corporate, it's just not profits. I think we can also play a big role in job creation, creating sustainable communities and societies and things like that. So that's one big aspect for me. And I think naturally women leaders tend to make much more balanced and sustainable and a more holistic sort of decision, which can be for the larger good of the societies. Just it goes beyond profits, it goes beyond shareholder returns as well. That is my opinion. And of course, I think a lot of people mentioned about role models, very very important to show the next generation of women what we can achieve and what we can do in diverse areas, right, in our um, areas. And of course, one inspired woman can inspire a lot of communities. It's like saying you teach the women in the house and the rest of the family survives. I think that same applies to the society and communities as well. So the more stronger women leaders we have, we will definitely have a much more inspired society and community as well. So that's what I wanted to wrap up.
The question that I'll come around the table with now is, what was the biggest roadblock that you faced in your career?
I think my biggest sort of roadblock was a very toxic boss, a very toxic environment to work with, um, where I didn't know how to challenge that, and this was just after I came back from my maternity leave, and you're going through so many things, and this person took this perfect opportunity to kind of pull me down every single time. It was always it was as though there was an agenda, right? So there was a little bit of racism, there was a little bit of subtle bullying that was happening. And for me as a new mom coming back to work after 4 months and facing these things, it was all, and it was just too consuming. And I remember feeling so depressed and so down. After being such an overachiever, you come back to something like this, it just doesn't feel good. And me being in Singapore, I don't have family support. So you having a new child and you're with a strange helper who's come in to help you, you're figuring that side of things. And then at work, there are these kind of toxic things that's happening. I was in that toxic environment for a long time, I think for close to 2 to 3 years, because my priority was more focused on the house front and the kids. I didn't have the strength to fight this person. So I was just sailing through until one day I mulled the courage to kind of stand up to the bully, right? And I had to talk to him and I said, what you're doing is not okay with me, and I'm not going to take this bullshit anymore. So the day I changed that, and the day I had that conversation face to face, everything changed. And that's when I realized the power is always with us. It's just that we don't know it is with us to kind of face these things and then stand up to it. So that was one of the biggest ones. And And of course, with all the biological clock, you want to have your kids, and then there's careers going on. Like I think Indra Nooyi was saying, they're just completely in the opposite direction, right? It's
That's
making the right choices. Okay, at that point in your life, what is your priority? Is it your kids? Is it your career ladder? Because you can't do everything. Like I think Ganga was saying, we can't excel in every damn thing, right? So it's also important for us to know what is the right choice for you, not for society, not for your company, not for anybody else. What is the right choice at that moment in time for you, right? If
yeah.
kids are the priority, then focus on that. If career and your position is important, then focus on that. You can't have it all. So that realization also helped me, because I was okay with not getting that promotion. I was okay with not making that career advancement and staying in the same position, as long as I have the job and I can manage my family back home as well. So I think those were some of the roadblocks I had to kind of overcome. And also the last one was, I just didn't know how to network and create visibility. And I think a lot of women struggle with that, right? I had to learn that skill. I had to learn how to network. I had to learn how to create visibility for my job beyond my boss or my immediate team. How do you collaborate with other team members? How do you go for networking events? How do you meet other women and get different perspective for your career? And all of those things is something that I had to learn. We all sit in our comfort zone and we all have our own pity party, but we don't take control of our lives and start doing these things, because all this is needed to get different perspective, to also shape up your career and your life as well.
The second question at the table would be, what program or policy or initiative at your company has contributed significantly to increasing a woman's rise up the ladder? And the third question is, what change do you feel is necessary for women and companies to make in order to increase women at leadership levels, especially in a post-COVID world, right? We are living in a world that has I don't know, been turned upon its head. So there's no way we can leave that out of the conversation. I'd really appreciate it if you'd include that in your answer as well.
In my organization, what I've seen is, I think about 4 years back, the global exec team made a conscious decision to increase the executive members, the women executive members, by 40%. And I think it was, at that time, it was just 10% or something. And they put a very, very concentrated and a focused program around it to make sure that within 5 years, the numbers go up to 40%. And they cascaded that agenda throughout all the organizations, like supply chain, whichever organizations. And I think they kind of nurtured that kind of culture within where this was made possible. And they would track year on year as a performance ambition. So this was a metric that was actually tracked. And I'm so happy to say that as of last year, we are 60% women on exec, which is phenomenal. And our CEO, Ivan, was behind this agenda and he drove it to make sure that balance happens. And now we are like kind of 60 to 40, which is fantastic. Coupled by that, I think a number of flexible HR policies, which worked wonders. For me personally, it's been the flexible kind of working policies that I had to work from home. I don't have to sit in the office, and you can take off whenever, do whenever. And they also introduced a paternity leave for the guys, which is for 6 months, which is amazing, right? Like they can just go off for 6 months when their wife are expecting. So that is something that's been rolled out for the last 2 years. And I think that also normalizes the fact that it's just not when the woman is going on maternity leave that you feel you're losing out. This is kind of an equalizer as well. So there are a lot of some amazing stuff which company wide they have done to make sure that there are a lot of women coming up as leaders. And I've seen some fantastic leadership from women in my organization across, and it's just phenomenal to be. And I think from a COVID point of view, although I didn't stay in India, but I've heard so much of stories about women struggling to manage it all. I think one of the things we all realized is mental health and the wellness support. And I think sometimes it requires that kind of an additional support by companies to provide more coaching or mentoring or wellness support, which my company had actually done during the pandemic. They ensured that they had set up so many wellness sessions to make sure the employees feel supported from a mental wellness perspective as well, which I think did wonders. So these are the kind of things which we can provide, right? Because every time the women feel, or anyone in the organization feel, they want to give up, they can't take all of this, when there is additional support given, then they can tide through that phase. And of course, all the concentrated, focused attention on, yes, this is an agenda, this is an important thing that we need to make in the organization to get more leaders on the board and in the exec, and put focused attention. Without that, without action, without energy going in, nothing happens. So I think it's important for organization to think about it that way, along with all the additional HR support. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.